Hi guys, so today I'm going to try the whole wheat function. That is the next thing that we need to try, number 5. I have been using this thing every other day, usually for the dough function or just to make the focaccia bread under the ultra fast setting. The kids love it with their sandwiches, and then I made dinner rolls for Thanksgiving, like with the dough. I've done other pumpernickel, other breads with the dough cycle, so I've been using this pretty often, but in our series here, whole wheat was the next one. So if I have any links to this machine in the description box, there will be affiliate links, which means I'll make a small commission if you're to purchase items through those links. It is still available, I believe, there on HSN. I keep this all together, even though I don't really use their measuring cups, and I gave you guys some tips about that recently. It's better to use your own measuring cups to get a good measurement of everything. So I lock that in there. We're gonna place our paddle because it's just sitting in here. And I read the whole wheat recipe that's in here, and I'm not sure. It asks for an egg, and that seems kind of odd to me. So I printed out a recipe from King Arthur flour that seems pretty basic. The only thing is they keep asking for white whole wheat flour, which is something they have, but they also have 100% whole wheat flour, and that's what I have. So I'm going to try to use it, but I'm going to substitute a little bit of orange juice for the water because it can be a little acrid, 100% whole wheat. So I'll be right back. Sorry. So I also have to get my daughter to school, so I don't know that I'm going to be here for everything, you know, to tell you the timing, but I'm just going to start the thing and let it go. It's going to be a very long cycle because it's whole wheat. You want it to really rise. So it's going to take it's going to be like probably a 4-hour cycle. I don't know. I do have a cup of lukewarm water here. And I'm going to add, like I said, a little bit of orange juice. So I'm supposed to use a cup and a quarter of water. So I'm going to squeeze a quarter cup of juice because I don't have any juice that's ready to go. And I'll be right back. While squeezing the juice, I just want to show you quickly. When you use a juice squeezer like this, you have to turn it upside down, which is weird because you would think it goes like this, right? Since it fits in there, but you go this way and then you squeeze it. And I'm going to have to put this down so I can do that. And one of these oranges gave me the quarter cup I need, so very juicy little oranges. Actually, it's more than a quarter cup, so that I will stop squeezing it. Okay. So I put a little fresh juice, but you can replace as much as half your liquid with that, just to give it a little better taste. And then I'm going to go ahead and layer in, you know how I pour things in, the 2 tablespoons of oil and a quarter cup of honey is what I'm going to use. So I'm going to put those liquid ingredients in and I'll be right back. Here's the honey. I did try to put a little bit of oil in this. That's why it's kind of coming out pretty easily, but there's still some stuck there. I like to clean that up really well. Don't like to waste. Get honey all over the place now. Ooh. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and scoop in the whole wheat flour. So 3½ cups, and we're going to say it with a blessing and a prayer because, again, this is what I'll be using. And this is completely whole wheat, so it's going to be some heavy stuff, right? But I'm going to scoop in 3½ cups of this, and I'll be right back. The last ½ cup, just pouring that in there. And then it's asking for different things if you want to put this in here. And I guess you could put it in the nut function, which is probably where I would do it, but this recipe is made for the bread machine. And it just says to go for it. So a quarter cup sunflower, sesame, or flax seeds, or a combination, and that's optional. But that sounds good to me. So I have a ½ cup here, so I'll just try to eyeball this because it's not the biggest deal. And I have some flaxseed that I need to use. So I'm going to put some of this in here. Hopefully it's okay. It seems like this little thing was open. So these things are like any other nut or whatever. You want to store them well. Of course this thing has a weird little lid. Okay, I'm going to pour some of this out and some sesame seeds. I'll be half sesame seeds, half flax, maybe a little more sesame. But I have sesame seeds because I do a lot of kind of Asian cooking, and I like to have those. So it's already toasted. It has a toasted flavor to it. And I'm going to kind of move that over to the side because I want to make a little hole for my yeast to go in. And then the next thing is a tablespoon of vital wheat gluten. If I had it, I would use it. It's not a big deal, but it does help with the rise. You can find it at the grocery store. You don't have to specialty order any of these things. It's kind of expensive. Okay, so I'm going to add the 1½ teaspoon salt and the 1½ instant yeast. And it is regular salt, so I'm just going to use regular salt. And I only have a quarter teaspoon here, so I need 6 of these. 1, 2, I found this at 4, 5. And I go a little bit easy on the salt anyway for me. At a secondhand store, and it keeps breaking. I need to get rid of these other ones. Super cute little set, but seen better days. Okay, I'm gonna grab my yeast and I'll be right back. And the yeast is only 1.5 teaspoons, which is very interesting. And it does say instant yeast, and you guys know I still use the same. I've shown this to you guys in every video, and the same Red Star active dry yeast. This is just what works, and it works all the time, so I don't feel like the instant thing needs to happen, but if you have instant, then go for it. And this is 1.5 teaspoon, and I'm eyeballing that. It might be a little more than a half. So the problem with putting in too much yeast is that it's just not good. Not just for the rise, but then it might just fall back down on you. So you do want to follow that. Just because you want yeast for rising, don't think, oh, I'll add more and that'll be great. No, it won't. Okay, let's plug this in. I always plug it in at the end, but you can plug it in at the beginning, whatever you like. And we're gonna go to mode to whole wheat. That's 3 hours and 45. That's not bad, because this actually says it's a 3 hour, 5 minute process here. Okay, sorry about that. And then as far as the color of the crust, I would say dark is what I always like. If you wanted to make a smaller loaf of bread, you could select that. This is 3.5 cups of flour, which is probably a smaller loaf in this machine, but I'm gonna leave it alone. But you can select for a smaller loaf, and then if you we're gonna add nuts, you can press this one here, and maybe some walnuts or something like that would be a good option, but obviously made small. You would select that. So I think we're ready. I don't need anything else here, so I'm just gonna start. And I'll make my notes that it's 3:45 for the whole wheat cycle. And that's when it starts kneading. But other than that, I don't really need a lot of... I'm just going to be in and out, so we'll see what happens. Okay, guys? I'll give you a little peek. Just do this thing. I did read a note in King Arthur Flour's website. They always use baker's notes. Like here might be a little note that they might give you with the recipe. And it did say that if you're using a recipe in the bread maker for the first time and you're not sure, this is to check at 10-12 minutes, and if the dough is too wet, then you need to add some flour, and if it's too dry, then obviously more liquid, and that kind of gives you an idea of if a recipe is going to work well in the bread maker. So I don't know. Alright guys, I'll be back. Check in with you guys. Remember I said about 10 to 12 minutes. This is a recipe made for a machine, but again, it's whole wheat. This is some heavy stuff, but it looks pretty good, I think. Right? Kind of like they said, look at the dough ball if it's nice and smooth, and look how it's relaxing now. It's just like letting itself fall down. So we're good. Rise 1 just started at 3:33. So funny, I was at the run back, I hear it. So at 3:13 it started knead 2, and it'll probably go for another however many minutes. So yeah, knead 2 at 3:13. Okay, just walked in from dropping off my daughter. My other son was here. I was like, when did you hear this stop? He's like, a couple minutes ago. So we're at 2:47. And it's on rise 2. So I would say in between that 3:13 kneading 2, it usually kneads for like 10 or 12 minutes. So I don't know, but I'm just making notes for myself. Okay, and we can take a little look. Well, let's take a little quick peek. Ooh, it looks like wheat bread. Ooh, we'll see. So again, we still have 2 hours and 47 minutes, so I'm sure a lot of that is just rising time. All right, I'll be back. It's 2:35 and it's doing a punch down. Do you hear that? Kind of, that little, it's not like a full knead. So 2:35, I was doing dishes, so I was able to hear this. Let's see what happens. Did it punch down? It still says rise 2. Interesting, huh? I'm gonna take a quick look. Looks good. It's filling up almost half the thing. That's very interesting. So usually once it does a punch down, it's going to go into the next rise, but it says rise 2 still, so I'll keep an eye out. Okay, so somewhere in between where we just left off and now it went to rise 3. It didn't do another punch down or anything like that, so I don't know exactly when it went to rise 3, but we still have 2 hours and 17 minutes left, so it's going to probably be a nice long rise, and then you're baking. But let's take a quick peek. Ooh, okay. All right. Don't keep quick peeking like I do. It lets the heat out, but okay, I'll be back. I don't know when it kicked on to bake, but we have 1 hour and 24 left on here, so that's a really long time. And there's our bread there, but we'll see. So it's on bake. So I have to go pick up my daughter. It is on bake. We have 34 minutes left. Hopefully I'll be back in time. If not, it'll just kick on to warm while I'm gone. I came back with a few minutes left to spare. It says 1 minute left. It should be beeping. There it is. So what I'm going to do is test the temperature before I take it out. And I can see it didn't rise as much as some breads would. Like my focaccia usually even wants to touch the top. If you're using the right measurements, right? Your measuring cups and all that. I'm just going to let it finish beeping. And now it goes to keep warm. But I'm going to test the temperature. It should be 190. Should have had this ready in case I need to bake it some more. Ooh. Yep, 190.5. I mean, and then 196 even, so we're good. Now, this baked, that sounds weird, for like almost 1.5 hours, and the recipe asks for 35 minutes of baking, but it has a longer rising time. So, you know, I don't know what the cycle was here because I haven't used the whole wheat cycle yet. So I just, you know, let the machine do its thing. We're gonna stop that. It doesn't really matter at this point. I'm gonna take this out. I'm gonna put it in on my cooling rack, and when I come back, I'll turn it out in a few minutes. Let it sit for a minute or two, but you can let it sit for a little bit longer. And there it goes. So again, not too puffy. That doesn't surprise me at all. That, you know, I'm saying it's still kind of dense, especially because I used 100% whole wheat. So I might have to adjust that next time. Maybe use some bread flour and some whole wheat. I don't usually play with my ingredients that way though, so I will probably just find a different recipe. Or I'll let this do the mix thing and do the dough, and then I'll take it out and let it do its final rise for 1.5 hours like the recipe asks, and then only bake it for 35-40 minutes until it's 190 inside. So, you know, we gotta play with it a little bit, but it looks really great. Sounds nice. All right, I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm gonna fish out the little paddle here now that it's still warm. It's easiest to do if it's still warm. Somebody had mentioned they don't like that it leaves a hole in your bread at the bottom, and pretty much every machine will do this because it has a paddle. After it's done doing the last like when you're nearing the last rise, you can reach in there and just pull the thing out. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not gonna punch down or anything like that, and then you can take it out. And the dough will still rise up how you need it to, so it's not a big deal. Okay, I'll be back. It's been a couple hours. I think it's still warm, but I think I'll cut it now because I am going to just heat up a can of soup for lunch. And even my son's like, am I eating a whole wheat sandwich for lunch? I'm like, we'll see. So usually I cut it this way because normally this bread is higher, you know, whenever I make a loaf in this machine. So I need my sandwich slices basically to be in such a way. I was going to cut the bottom off because the hole is kind of big today, and I was like, well, I'm just going to dip it in some soup, but I'm going to go ahead and cut it this way since we haven't done that before. Since he is a little shorty, when they're so tall, you don't really want to slice it in that direction. Oh, I like that. So I'm going to cut this, try to do it evenly so we can just get in there. Look at this. So really nice crumb. I mean, it is bread. Oh, it's still warm. I like to, well, it's a little bit warm. Again, don't cut into your bread when it's hot because you're going to release all the steam, everything that's in there that's helping. Still, not continue to bake it, but just to stay in there, right? That moisture. So it's still a little bit warm, but that's okay. But look at that. Again, this is not a super yeasty bread. I mean, you saw I only took 1.5 teaspoons for the amount of flour, and for it being, you know, wheat. Next time I'll probably try to get the white whole wheat that they have, not just 100% whole wheat because this is heavier. Or at least maybe get some vital wheat gluten to help out. Oh, it's so yummy, you guys. Sweet. The little nuts, the little seeds that we put in there, should I say, really. You can just taste them. That has that little crunch. Wow. So, again, this recipe isn't really adapted for this machine. But it worked out. Really, I think the difference is just the whole wheat that I use because it is much heavier than the white whole wheat that's a little bit lighter. It makes your bread a little lighter, but this is really good. So thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully that gave you some information. I will have the link to the recipe because it is really nice. It tastes awesome. There's the picture they had. And so you can see the crumb is very similar. It's nice and just, not dense, but like compact. I don't know what to call it because some other ones are more airy, right, when you cut into it. Really great stuff. All right, I'll have some pictures for you guys and I'll see you at the next one. Bye now.